Guten Tag und herzlichen Willkommen to another German grammar video. Today we will be talking about regelmäßige Verben, or in English, regular verbs, and more specifically how to conjugate them. So the first step is simply making a chart like so. You want to have your personal pronouns listed in this order: ich, du, er, sie, es, wir, ihr, and then sie and sie, with one of the c's being lowercase, one of them being uppercase to show formal and informal. And then for regular verbs, you simply have to determine the stem part of a verb. So in this case, we're using the verb lieben. So stem would just be lieb. Or for another verb, for say wohnen, the stem would just be this first part minus the ending. So then we just plug this this stem part of the verb into the chart. So like we did for lieben, we just have lieb now. And you're just going to tack on the endings for the verb. So for ish, it's going to be just e on the end. For do, st. For er is yes, just t. For wir, it's going to be en. For ihr, t. And then for c and c, well again, en. So basically all you have to do is fill in the blanks. So you can pause the video for a moment and just basically transition those the blanks here for the en slot. All right, it's that simple. So for ish, it would be liebe. For do, it would be liebst. For RCS, it would be liebt. For wir, it would be lieben. For ihr, it would be liebt again. And then for sie and sie, it would be lieben again. So that's going to be the case for most of your wonderful journey through German. You're going to find just regular verbs, and it's going to be that simple to conjugate. So of course there's going to be irregular verbs, and those will take special conjugations and will have exceptions, but that's going to be the case in any language. There's going to be exceptions which you'll just have to memorize. And we'll talk about that more in a later video. So that will be the vast majority of verbs you conjugate, but there will also be a lot of exceptions you'll come across, even among regular verbs. So another example of one of these exceptions would be the verb tun. As you might notice, normal verbs like wohnen, lieben, or gehen all end in en. But what you might notice about tun is that there's no en, just an n on the end. So the conjugation is just a tad bit different for that. So for ish, it's the same, ish tua. For do, it's the same as well, du tust. For RCS, again the same, tut. For wir, that's one changes. You're not adding on the en anymore, you're just adding on the n. Which kind of makes sense, because for the actual modal version of the normal verb lieben, you just add on the en back to it. In this case, you just add on back the n like it originally was. So wir tun, we do. And then for ihr, it's tut, and for sie and sie, tun. So that just about covers the basic conjugation for verbs in German. But I'm going to go over now a few exceptions. So, hold on, let me erase this real quick, if I can find my handy-dandy eraser. That'll work too. So the first exception we're going to go over is verbs that end in den, D-E-N, or verbs that end in T-E-N. And two examples of this would be the verb reden, which means to talk or converse. It's like we're doing now. And also arbeiten, that would be a T-E-N. So really the only thing that's different about these verbs is when it comes to the do and RCS conjugation. So think about it. If you're getting to the do and RCS part, it doesn't really sound right if you say do redest. Or du or redet. Doesn't really flow off the tongue easily. So what the Germans did was they added a little E in between just to make it easier to pronounce. So instead of that, it would be redest or redet. And the same goes for Arbeit. It would sound really weird to say Arbeitest or Arbeitet. So the Germans changed it to Arbeitet and Arbeitest to make it much easier to pronounce. So our last exception, it lies in the form of verbs that end in zen or sten. So this is sort of the same principle, and two examples of that will be found in the verbs tanzen, which is to dance, and heißen, which is like to be named. So a pretty common one, like ich heiße Ben. So this one will also be found in mainly in the RCS conjugation form of it. So instead of saying in the do conjugation, instead of saying du tanzt, they just shorten it to be du tanzt. Take out the S. Same sound, just a bit easier to spell and a bit easier to pronounce. And then for heißen, they don't do heißt, because the S set already makes the S sound, making it sort of unnecessary to add another S. All you have to do is do heiß. And that's about it for any conjugation all through the German language. You can just about bet that this will be the correct form. Of course, many irregular verbs will come across your path as well. And really the secret to knowing those is just to memorize them individually and to know which ones are irregular and require special attention when conjugating. Other than that, with some practice, this will start to come naturally to you, and you won't even have to think about doing it. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.